The medical station Helios 7 hung in the void of space, its sleek silver form reflecting the light of distant stars. Inside, the corridors hummed with the soft whir of advanced technology, a testament to the Zarquin race's mastery of medical science. Dr. Vex, the station's lead physician, glided through the halls on his hover pad, his 4 tentacle-like appendages busy with various medical instruments. His large, luminous eyes scanned a holographic display of patient data as he made his routine rounds. The calm of the station was suddenly shattered by a blaring alarm. Vex's head snapped up, his translucent skin pulsing with surprise. Unidentified craft approaching on collision course, the station's AI announced, its voice eerily calm. Vex raced towards the observation deck, his hover pad whining with a sudden acceleration. He arrived just in time to see a small, battered ship hurtle past the view screen, trailing smoke and debris. Tractor beam engaged, the AI reported. Unknown vessel secured in emergency docking bay. Vex's mind raced. The station was located in a remote sector, far from any regular space lanes. What kind of ship would be out here, and in such dire condition? He quickly assembled a team and made his way to the docking bay. As the airlock cycled open, Vex's nostrils flared, taking in the acrid smell of burnt circuitry and an unfamiliar metallic scent. The ship was unlike anything Vex had ever seen. Its design was crude by Zarquin standards, all angles and exposed rivets. The hull was scorched and pitted, telling a tale of a harrowing journey. Life signs detected, one of Vex's assistants reported, waving a scanner over the ship. 1 occupant, faint but stable. Vex nodded, his professional curiosity piqued. Let's get them out, prepare the quarantine bay. With practiced efficiency, the team cut through the ship's hull. As the metal peeled away, Vex peered inside, and his eyes widened in shock. The being inside was like nothing he had ever encountered. It had 2 arms and 2 legs, skin that wasn't translucent, and a head crowned with a strange fibrous material. The creature was strapped into a chair, unconscious, with dark red liquid oozing from several wounds. By the cosmic winds, Vex breathed. What is it? His assistant consulted a database. Matches description of species designated human. First contact made 3 stellar cycles ago. Minimal data available. Vex's mind reeled. Humans were a new species on the galactic stage, barely out of their solar system. What was one doing out here, so far from their home world? As they carefully extracted the human from the wreckage, Vex noticed something clutched in its hand. It was a small, flat device with a cracked screen. He gently pried it loose, hoping it might provide some answers. They rushed the unconscious human to the quarantine bay. Vex hovered over the examination table, his appendages flying over various instruments. The human's vital signs were erratic, its body temperature far higher than any Zarquin's. Is it supposed to be this hot? One of the assistants asked, concern evident in their voice. Vex shook his head. I don't know. Our database on human physiology is woefully inadequate. He focused on treating the obvious injuries first. The red liquid, blood, he assumed, was steadily leaking from several deep gashes. Vex applied a regenerative gel, watching in fascination as it interacted with the human's flesh. Remarkable, he muttered. Their cellular structure is so resilient. As they worked to stabilize the human, Vex couldn't shake a feeling of excitement. This was uncharted territory, a chance to study a species that was still largely a mystery to the galactic community. The flat device they had retrieved from the human suddenly lit up, projecting a holographic message. A face similar to their patient's appeared, looking stressed and urgent. This is Captain Aria Zong of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. Our ship has been critically damaged in an asteroid field. Navigation systems are offline. If anyone receives this message, please assist. We are. The message cut off abruptly. Vex looked from the hologram to the unconscious human on the table. This Aria Zhang had risked everything to find help for her crew. The thought stirred something in Vex, a feeling of admiration for this unknown species' determination. "We need to stabilize his human," Vex announced to his team. "And then we need to find a way to communicate, to understand." As the medical team continued their work, the human's vital signs began to stabilize. Vex watched the monitors with a mixture of professional interest and personal wonder. This human, this Aryazong, was a mystery wrapped in an enigma, and Vex was determined to unravel it. Little did he know, this unexpected arrival was about to change everything he thought he knew about medicine, biology, and the very nature of life itself. As the first critical hours ticked by, Vex prepared himself for the challenge of a lifetime and the dawning of a new era of interspecies understanding. Dr. Vex hovered anxiously over the medical bay's central console, his luminous eyes fixed on the stream of data flowing across the holographic display. It had been several hours since they had brought the unconscious human aboard, and despite their best efforts, Captain Aryazong's condition remained critical. "Her cellular structure is unlike anything I've ever seen," Vex muttered, more to himself than to his assistant, Dr. Nix, who stood nearby. "It's as if her body is constantly at war with itself, yet somehow maintaining a precarious balance." Nix's antennae twitched with curiosity. Perhaps that's why their species has survived on such a volatile planet. Their database mentions frequent natural disasters, extreme climate variations, and even wars among their own kind. Vex nodded absently, his focus never leaving the readouts. The human's body temperature, which had initially alarmed them, seemed to be a normal state for her species. However, other readings were far from stable. "Her respiratory system is severely compromised," Vex noted, a hint of frustration in his usually calm voice. "And these electrical impulses in her neural network, they're erratic, to say the least." As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the medical bay. Aria's body convulsed on the bed, her back arching as if in pain. "Seizure," Nix exclaimed, rushing to the bedside. Vex's tentacles flew over the controls, desperately trying to stabilize the human. "Administer 5 units of neuroinhibitor," he ordered, "and increase oxygen flow by 20%. The medical drones buzzed into action, delivering the prescribed treatments with precision. Slowly, agonizingly, Aria's body relaxed back onto the bed. Vex let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "That was too close," he murmured. As the immediate crisis passed, Vex found himself studying Aria's face. Even unconscious, there was a determination in her features that he found fascinating. What kind of experiences had shaped this being? What drove her to push so far beyond her world's boundaries? "Dr. Vex," Nix interrupted his thoughts. "I've been analyzing the data from her ship's logs. It seems Captain Zhang was on a solo mission to establish a communication relay in this sector. Her crew is on a larger vessel, waiting at the edge of the system." Vex's eyes widened. A solo mission? In that primitive craft? Through an asteroid field? He shook his head in disbelief. The risks involved, it's almost inconceivable. Perhaps, Nix suggested, their short lifespans drive them to take greater risks, to achieve more in less time. Before Vex could respond, another alarm sounded. This time, it was Aria's cardiovascular system showing signs of distress. "Her heart rate is spiking," Vex announced, his tentacles once again a blur of motion over the controls. "Blood pressure dropping rapidly. We're losing her." The next few minutes were a frenzy of activity. Vex and his team worked tirelessly, applying every technique and treatment they could think of. Traditional Zarquin methods proved ineffective, forcing them to improvise based on their limited knowledge of human physiology. "Her body is rejecting our standard regenerative therapies," Nix reported, a note of panic in her voice. Vex's mind raced. If they couldn't use their advanced treatments, what options did they have left? Then an idea struck him. "What if we let her body heal itself?" he suggested. "Humans evolved on a planet with far fewer resources than we have. Their bodies must have developed robust natural healing mechanisms." Nix looked skeptical. But the extent of her injuries? We'll support the process, Vex insisted. Provide the basic building blocks her body needs, but let her own systems do the work. It was a radical approach, one that went against centuries of Zarquin medical doctrine. But as Aria's vital signs continued to fluctuate wildly, Vex knew they had no choice. They began to withdraw the more aggressive treatments, replacing them with a carefully calibrated nutrient solution designed to support human cellular regeneration. For several tense minutes, Aria's condition continued to deteriorate. Then, almost imperceptibly at first, her vital signs began to stabilize. Her heart rate steadied, her blood pressure slowly rose to safer levels. Vex watched in amazement as Aria's body seemed to rally, fighting back against the brink of death with a tenacity he had never before witnessed. Incredible, Nyx whispered, echoing Vex's thoughts. As the immediate danger passed, Vex found himself re-evaluating everything he thought he knew about medicine and biology. This human, this Aria Zhang, was rewriting the rules before his very eyes. "We're not out of the woods yet," Vex cautioned his team, "but I think she might actually survive this." The medical bay settled into a tense quiet, broken only by the soft beep of monitoring equipment. Vex remained by Aria's bedside, watching, learning, and marveling at the resilience of this strange, fascinating species. As he observed the slow but steady improvement in Aria's condition, Vex couldn't help but feel a growing sense of respect and admiration. Whatever happened next, he knew that his encounter with this human was going to change him, and perhaps the entire field of xenomedicine, forever. The soft hum of medical equipment filled the air as Dr. Vex hovered near Captain Aria Zhang's bedside. It had been 3 days since the human's dramatic arrival, and her recovery had been nothing short of miraculous by Zarquin standards. Vex's large eyes blinked slowly as he reviewed the latest scans. "Remarkable," he murmured. "Her cellular regeneration rate is off the charts." Dr. Nyx floated over, her antennae twitching with curiosity. "It's as if her entire body is working in perfect harmony to heal itself. I've never seen anything like it." Suddenly, a slight movement caught Vex's attention. Aria's fingers twitched, then her eyelids fluttered. Both alien doctors leaned in, watching intently as their patient began to stir. Aria's eyes snapped open, wide and alert. For a moment, she stared at the ceiling, confusion evident on her face. Then, as she became aware of the alien presence beside her, she jerked upright, wincing at the sudden movement. "Easy, easy," Vex said soothingly, raising his tentacles in what he hoped was a non-threatening gesture. "You're safe. We're here to help you." Aria's gaze darted around the room, taking in the unfamiliar technology and the strange beings before her. To Vex's surprise, instead of panic, her expression shifted to one of wonder and curiosity. Where am I?" Aria asked, her voice hoarse but steady. "You're aboard the medical station Helios 7, Vex explained. "I'm Dr. Vex, and this is my colleague, Dr. Nyx. Your ship was badly damaged. We brought you aboard for emergency treatment." Aria nodded slowly, processing the information. "My crew, the Horizon." "We've detected a larger vessel at the edge of the system," Nyx interjected. "We believe it's your ship. They're safe, but too far for direct communication at the moment." Relief washed over Aria's face, followed quickly by determination. "I need to contact them, to complete my mission." Vex and Nyx exchanged glances. "Captain Zhang," Vex said gently, "you've been through a severe trauma. Your body needs time to recover." To their astonishment, Aria swung her legs over the side of the bed, gritting her teeth against obvious pain. "Time is a luxury we don't have. The relay needs to be established." Vex moved to stop her, but hesitated, torn between his medical instincts and his fascination with this display of human resilience. "Perhaps," Nyx suggested, "we could assist you in completing your mission. Our technology is more advanced. We could establish the relay while you recover." Aria paused, considering the offer. That could work. but I'd need to oversee the process, ensure it meets Earth's specifications. Vex nodded, relieved to have found a compromise. We can set up a workstation here in the medical bay, but you must promise to rest and allow us to continue monitoring your recovery. As they helped Aria settle into a more comfortable position, Vex couldn't help but marvel at her adaptability. Here she was, surrounded by alien life and technology, yet her focus remained unwaveringly on her mission. Over the next few hours, Vex and his team worked to create a makeshift communication station in the medical bay. Aria, despite her weakened state, provided clear instructions and specifications. "Your technology is incredible," Aria commented, examining a holographic display of the relay schematics. "With these modifications, we could boost the signal strength tenfold." Vex watched in amazement as Aria quickly grasped the principles of their advanced systems, suggesting improvements and adaptations on the fly. Her mind seemed to work at an astonishing pace, processing and synthesizing new information with ease. As they worked, Vex took the opportunity to satisfy his own curiosity about humans. "Captain Zhang, if I may ask, what drives your species to explore so far from your home world? The risks seem considerable." Aria smiled, a spark of passion lighting up her eyes. "It's in our nature, Dr. Vex. Humans have always been explorers, pushing boundaries, seeking the unknown. It's how we've survived and thrived." "But surely," Nyx interjected, "with such short lifespans, the cost of failure is high," Aria finished. "But so are the rewards. Every discovery, every new connection we make out here, it's a step forward for all of humanity." Vex pondered this, his perception of humans shifting yet again. Their drive, their adaptability, their sheer determination, it was both awe-inspiring and slightly terrifying. As the day wore on, Aria's strength began to flag, though she fought to hide it. Vex, noticing her increasing fatigue, insisted on a rest period. "Your body is still healing, Captain," he said firmly. "You've made remarkable progress, but you need to rest." To his surprise, Aria didn't argue. She nodded, settling back onto the bed. "You're right, and thank you, both of you, for saving my life, for helping with a mission. I don't know how I can repay you." Vex's skin rippled with a warm glow, the Zarquin equivalent of a smile. "The opportunity to learn, to expand our understanding of your species, that is payment enough." As Aria drifted off to sleep, Vex turned to Nyx. "I think," he said softly, "we may have underestimated humans. Their resilience, their adaptability, it's unlike anything we've encountered before." Nyx nodded in agreement. This encounter could revolutionize our approach to xenomedicine, and perhaps much more. As they continued their work on the relay, Vex couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The arrival of Aria Zhang had opened a door, and beyond it lay a future filled with possibilities he had never before imagined. As days turned into weeks, the medical bay of Helios 7 became a hub of activity and cultural exchange. Captain Aria Zhang's recovery progressed at a rate that continued to astonish Dr. Vex and his team, while her presence sparked a flurry of curiosity and learning among the Zarquin staff. One morning, Vex entered the bay to find Aria sitting up in bed, surrounded by a group of wide-eyed Zarquin medical interns. She was regaling them with tales of Earth, her animated gestures punctuating her words. "So there we were," Aria was saying, scaling the face of El Capitan in Yosemite. 3,000 feet of sheer granite, with nothing but our wits, our gear, and each other to rely on. The interns listened, enraptured. One of them, a young Zarquin named Zix, raised a tentacle. "But why, Captain Zhang? Why risk your life for such an endeavor?" Aria's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "For the challenge, Zix. To push our limits, to see what we're capable of. There's something about facing your fears, about overcoming seemingly impossible odds. It changes you, makes you stronger." Vex hovered closer, intrigued by the conversation. "This drive to challenge yourselves," he interjected, "is it common among all humans?" Arya considered the question. To varying degrees, yes. It's part of our nature. We're explorers, innovators. We see obstacles as opportunities for growth. The concept seemed to both fascinate and perplex the Zarquin. Their society valued stability and careful progress. The human penchant for risk-taking and rapid adaptation was alien to them, yet undeniably compelling. As the interns dispersed to their duties, Vex approached Arya's bedside. "Your recovery continues to defy our expectations," he said, reviewing her latest scans. "At this rate, you'll be fit for duty far sooner than we anticipated." Arya nodded, a determined look in her eyes. "Good. The sooner I can complete my mission and reunite with my crew, the better." Vex's skin rippled with concern. "You've made remarkable progress, but you shouldn't push yourself too hard. Your body has been through a tremendous ordeal." To his surprise, Arya laughed. "Dr. Vex, pushing ourselves is what humans do best. But I appreciate your concern. How about a compromise? I'll take it easy today if you'll tell me more about your people. I've been doing all the talking lately." Vex settled into a hover chair beside the bed, his curiosity piqued. Over the next few hours, he found himself opening up about Zarquin culture, their history of peaceful exploration, and their dedication to the pursuit of knowledge. "Our longevity allows us to take a more measured approach to progress," Vex explained. "We value careful consideration and consensus building." Arya listened intently, asking insightful questions that often led Vex to consider aspects of his own culture in new ways. As they talked, he realized that this exchange was changing him, broadening his perspective in ways he hadn't anticipated. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Nix, who entered the medical bay with an air of excitement. "Captain Zhang, Dr. Vex," she said, her antennae quivering, "we've made a breakthrough with the communication relay. We're ready to attempt contact with the horizon." Arya's face lit up with anticipation. Despite Vex's protests, she insisted on being present for the communication attempt. They made their way to the makeshift control center they had set up in a corner of the medical bay. As Nix initiated the startup sequence, Arya leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. Vex watched her, marveling at the intensity of her focus, the unwavering determination that seemed to radiate from her very being. The relay hummed to life, sending out a signal across the vast expanse of space. For several tense moments, there was nothing but static. Then suddenly, a voice crackled through the speakers. "This is Commander Chen of the Earth vessel Horizon. We're receiving your signal. Arya, is that you?" The joy on Arya's face was palpable. "Chen, yes, it's me. I'm alive, thanks to our new friends on Helios 7. As Arya briefed her crew on her situation and the status of their mission, Vex found himself reflecting on the incredible journey of the past few weeks. What had started as a medical emergency had blossomed into a profound cultural exchange, one that was already beginning to change both human and Zarquin perspectives. The Relay Project, born of necessity, had become a symbol of cooperation between their species. It represented not just a technological achievement, but a bridge between two vastly different cultures. As he watched Arya's animated conversation with her crew, Vex felt a sense of anticipation building within him. The universe, he realized, was far more diverse and filled with even greater possibilities than he had ever imagined. And humans, with their resilience, adaptability, and insatiable curiosity, were opening doors to new realms of discovery. The encounter with Arya Zhang and the crew of the Horizon was just the beginning. As the communication continued, Vex knew that both humans and Zarquin stood on the threshold of a new era of interstellar cooperation and understanding. The challenges ahead were many, but so were the opportunities. And if there was one thing he had learned from Arya, it was that challenges were simply opportunities in disguise. The days following the successful communication with the Horizon were filled with a flurry of activity. Captain Arya Zhang's recovery continued to progress rapidly, much to Dr. Vex's amazement and slight concern. The medical bay of Helios 7 had become a hub of interspecies collaboration, with Zarquin scientists and engineers working alongside Aria to refine the communication relay and exchange technological knowledge. One morning, as Vex was conducting his routine check on Aria, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. The holographic displays flickered, and the usual hum of the station's systems faltered. "What's happening?" Aria asked, instantly alert despite having been woken from a deep sleep. Vex's tentacles danced over the control panel, his luminous eyes widening with concern. "It appears we're experiencing a massive power fluctuation. This is unprecedented." The door to the medical bay slid open, and Dr. Nix rushed in, her antennae twitching with agitation. "Dr. Vex, we have a situation. The station's main reactor is destabilizing. If we can't contain it, we'll have to evacuate." Aria swung her legs over the side of the bed, ignoring Vex's protestations. "Let me help. I have experience with reactor systems." Vex hesitated, torn between his duty as a doctor and the potential value of Aria's expertise. "Captain Zhang, you're still recovering." "There's no time for that now," Aria interrupted, her voice firm. "Your station is in danger, and I can help. Let me do this." Recognizing the determination in her eyes, Vex nodded reluctantly. "Very well, but I'm coming with you. You're still under my care." The trio made their way to the reactor control room, where chaos reigned. Zarquin engineers rushed back and forth, their usual calm demeanor replaced by frantic activity. Holographic displays showed cascading system failures across the station. Aria immediately stepped up to a control panel, her eyes scanning the alien interface. "Your reactor design is different from ours, but the principles should be similar. Can you give me access?" The lead Zarquin engineer looked to Vex, who nodded his approval. Within moments, Aria's fingers were flying over the controls, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The containment field is collapsing," she muttered. "We need to reroute power from non-essential systems to reinforce it." Vex and Nix worked alongside her, translating her instructions to the Zarquin team and implementing her suggestions. The minutes ticked by tensely as they fought to stabilize the reactor. Suddenly, Aria's eyes lit up. "I think I see the problem. Your coolant system is using a linear flow pattern, but with the unique properties of your reactor core, a helical flow would be more efficient. If we can reconfigure the coolant pathways." She trailed off, her hands a blur over the controls. The Zarquin engineers watched in awe as she rapidly reprogrammed their systems, implementing changes that would have taken their team weeks to conceptualize and test. As Aria worked, Vex couldn't help but marvel at her adaptability. Here she was, faced with completely alien technology, yet she was able to not only understand it, but improve upon it in a moment of crisis. Slowly, the alarms began to quiet. The holographic displays showed the reactor core stabilizing, the containment field strengthening. A collective sigh of relief echoed through the control room. "You did it," Vex said, his voice filled with admiration. "You saved the station." Aria leaned back, a tired smile on her face. "We did it. It was a team effort." As the crisis subsided and the cleanup began, Vex noticed Aria swaying slightly on her feet. Despite her protests, he insisted on escorting her back to the medical bay for rest. "You pushed yourself too hard," he chided gently as he helped her into bed. "Your body is still healing." Aria chuckled weakly. "Sometimes you have to push your limits to see what you're truly capable of. Isn't that what progress is all about?" Vex paused, considering her words. "Perhaps you're right. Your actions today, they've given us much to think about." Over the next few days, as Aria recovered from her exertion, the station buzzed with excitement. The Zarquin scientists and engineers pored over the changes Aria had made to their systems, marveling at the innovative solutions she had implemented. More than that, her actions had sparked a change in the Zarquin approach to problem-solving. They began to question long-held assumptions, to look at challenges from new angles. The human capacity for lateral thinking and rapid adaptation was proving to be a valuable asset. As Vex observed these changes, he realized that the impact of Aria's presence went far beyond medical curiosity or technological exchange. She had shown the Zarquin a new way of thinking, a reminder that progress often came from embracing the unknown and being willing to take risks. The crisis had brought humans and Zarquin together in a way that no diplomatic mission could have achieved. It had forged a bond of mutual respect and understanding, laying the groundwork for future cooperation. As he watched Aria chatting animatedly with a group of Zarquin engineers who had come to thank her, Vex felt a sense of excitement for the future. The universe, he realized, was full of wonders yet to be discovered, and with allies like the humans, those discoveries were closer than ever before. The day of Captain Aria Zung's departure arrived sooner than anyone on Helios 7 had anticipated. In the weeks following the reactor crisis, her recovery had accelerated even further, as if the excitement and challenge had invigorated her healing process. The medical bay, once a place of uncertainty and concern, now buzzed with a bittersweet energy as the Zarquin staff prepared to bid farewell to their unexpected guest. Dr. Vex hovered near Aria's bed, running one final series of scans. His large eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of emotional conflict in Zarquin body language. "Your recovery is complete," he announced, his tone a mixture of professional satisfaction and personal regret. "By all measurable standards, you're in better health now than when you first arrived." Aria grinned, stretching her arms above her head. "I feel great, thanks to you and your team. I can't thank you enough for everything you've done." Vex's skin rippled with a warm glow. "It is we who should be thanking you, Captain Zhang. Your presence here has taught us more than we could have imagined." As Aria packed her few belongings, a crowd began to gather in the medical bay. Zarquin doctors, engineers, and even some of the station's administrative staff had come to say goodbye. Many held small gifts, data crystals containing scientific information, holographic art pieces, and other mementos of her stay. Dr. Nix approached, her antennae twitching with excitement. "Captain Zhang, we've prepared something special for you." She handed Aria a small, sleek device. "It's a miniaturized version of our communication relay. With this, you'll be able to stay in contact with Helios 7, no matter where your explorations take you." Aria's eyes widened as she examined the device. "This is incredible. The potential for ongoing scientific exchange is immense," Vex finished for her. "We hope this will be the beginning of a long and fruitful collaboration between our peoples." As the time for departure drew near, Vex escorted Aria to the docking bay where a shuttle waited to take her back to the horizon. The corridors of Helios 7 seemed different somehow, charged with a new energy that hadn't been there before Aria's arrival. "You know," Aria said as they walked, "when I set out on this mission, I never imagined it would lead to something like this. I came to set up a simple communication relay, and instead, you've opened up a whole new chapter of interstellar cooperation." Vex completed her thought. "Your resilience, your adaptability, your willingness to face the unknown, these qualities have inspired us all." They reached the docking bay, where the rest of the Helios 7 staff had gathered for a final farewell. As Aria prepared to board the shuttle, she turned to address the assembled Zarquin. "Thank you all for your kindness, your curiosity, and your willingness to embrace new ideas," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "What happened here? The challenges we faced together, the knowledge we shared, this is what space exploration is all about. Not just discovering new worlds, but discovering new ways of thinking, new possibilities for cooperation and growth." A chorus of trilling sounds filled the air, the Zarquin equivalent of applause. Aria smiled, then turned to Vex one last time. "Dr. Vex, I'll never forget what you did for me. You saved my life, but more than that, you showed me that even across the vast distances of space, we can find common ground, friendship, and understanding." Vex's skin glowed brightly with emotion. "And you, Captain Zhang, have shown us that the universe is far more wondrous and full of potential than we ever imagined. Safe travels, and may the cosmic winds guide you home." As the shuttle departed, carrying Aria back to her ship and her waiting crew, Vex and the other Zarquin watched from the observation deck. The small craft grew smaller against the backdrop of stars, eventually disappearing from view. But Vex knew this wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. The encounter with Aria Zhang had changed Helios 7 and the Zarquin in profound ways. Already, he could see his colleagues approaching their work with new perspectives, asking questions they had never considered before. In the days that followed, Vex found himself poring over the medical data from Aria's stay, seeing patterns and possibilities he had previously overlooked. The human capacity for rapid healing, for adapting to new environments and challenges, there was so much to learn, so much potential for advancing medical science across species boundaries. More than that, the spirit of exploration and collaboration that Aria had embodied was spreading throughout the station. Vex heard excited discussions in the corridors about joint human-Zarquin research projects, cultural exchange programs, and even the possibility of Zarquin scientists visiting Earth. As he looked out at the stars one evening, Vex felt a sense of anticipation he hadn't experienced in centuries. The universe suddenly seemed larger, more exciting, filled with endless possibilities. And it was all because of one human, one chance encounter that had opened their eyes to new horizons. The communication relay beeped softly, indicating an incoming message. Vex smiled, knowing it would be Aria, keeping her promise to stay in touch. As he moved to answer, he realized that this was more than just the end of an extraordinary medical case. It was the dawn of a new era of interstellar friendship and discovery. And as the stars twinkled in the vast expanse of space, Vex knew that wherever humanity's explorations led them next, the Zarquin would be watching, learning, and ready to lend a hand. For in the great cosmic dance of the universe, they had found new partners, and the music of discovery was only just beginning to play.